Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I have Danika Christopherson, Miss Oklahoma USA 2024, second runner-up to Miss USA. And I'm just so excited. I saw you at Miss Dallas USA. You were one of the judges. And then we chatted right after, and I said, oh my gosh, I want to interview you. And you're like, yes. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for taking me up. And I want to start with, if you want to give everybody a little bit more details on who is Danika, that would be a great start.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, like Heather said, my name is Danika Christopherson. I'm Miss Oklahoma USA, and I just recently placed second runner-up at Miss USA. But Miss Oklahoma USA was not my first rodeo. So I competed and actually worked with Heather when I was younger as Miss Oklahoma Teen USA for Miss Teen USA, but that was COVID year. Which I don't think we can remember what COVID year was like, or maybe not because we want to forget it. But I have done pageants most of my life, and what I've loved about pageants is they've helped me develop into a better person when it comes to social skills. But specifically outside of that, I am an operations director at Viridian Coffee, which the team members that I work with, I've been able to teach them the things that I've learned in pageants on how to communicate with people. I've been able to bring that to them and also show them a lot of different things of the life that I live and help hopefully inspire them to do bigger things. And, running coffee houses, it's a way to do business. And I love the idea of running a business and having business and all that kind of stuff. So it's what keeps the world circling. We love the economy.
So what is your platform?
My platform, I really want to focus in on rising up because I started from pretty much nothing. I left my family when I was probably about 18. Just for my own personal reasons and goals. And I really struggled with anxiety and a lot of depression. And so instead of focusing in on, I'm a victim, I chose to not be a victim to my own circumstances and rise up from the occasion. So with no college degree, nothing crazy, I've been able to, become second in a $6 million company at Viridian Coffee. So it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's exciting. So if you could define winning, how would you define it?
Winning, that's an interesting question because obviously everybody's definition is really, really different. But for me, winning, right? Winning is, in the end, a happy situation, right? For every party. So what I like to think about is a 3-part win, especially in business. There's 3 people that have to win. The guest has to win first because the guest is who pays you. The guest is what brings you money because really making coffee is great or doing anything is great. But if there's no actual revenue from it, you can't pay your bills. And so therefore it's going to be really difficult for you to live. So the guest has to win first. Secondly, the team has to win. So the people that are helping you achieve that goal. So relating this to pageants or business, right? The people who went along with you on that journey, they have to win too. And what does winning necessarily look like? They have to have some kind of benefit from it, whether it's within their business or within their personal lifestyle. And then lastly, the company, or say in this case, myself as Miss Oklahoma, gets to win last, right? And that's usually probably a little bit backwards to what people think. They think that the title holder would win first. But for me, I really wanted to make sure that the people who are helping me get there win, because I would hope to have continued relationships with my sponsors and all the people that helped me get to Miss USA afterwards, because I am Danika, I'm not just Miss Oklahoma. And so I want to stay engaged with everybody and still stay connected to the world that helped me get to Miss USA. So that's what I would consider winning.
I really like that. I like that you tie it to business too, because it's so important. Yeah. And everyone who's watching probably has some sort of tie to some sort of business, whether as a customer, a business owner, an employee. So smart.
And even like going to Miss USA, running a business, I think was an advantage for me because I was able to see that winning Miss USA wasn't just I'm beautiful, pick me. It really is a business decision for the organization because Miss USA obviously has a staff that needs to get paid and do the things. And so me as an ambassador, I have to be really in touch with what they need and what they want from a marketing perspective. And that perception or that understanding, I think really helped tailor my training and what I wanted to do to succeed at Miss USA.
So did you do some of the design work of some of your competition wardrobe?
I did. So what's interesting about me, of course I do pageants, but specifically I try to stay away from the very pageanty lifestyle of, having other people do my things. And I'm also very particular. I wouldn't say I'm controlling when it comes to my wardrobe, but I just have a vision. I'm creative. And I really loved that I went to go get my dress on Tuesday and the Met Gala was that Monday before. And I was like, yes, this works out perfectly. I get to watch the Met Gala and then see what's on the carpet and all the things. Because of course, being Miss USA would be great, but I really wanted to have a bigger impact of just my fashion choices rather than just Miss USA choices. So I did design my gown and swimsuit. We had sponsors from Heat Swimwear, so I didn't design that, but I designed my costume, I designed my gown, I designed my interview. So it was a lot of fun. And I'm a very creative person. So that was fun for me to have that ability to do.
Do you have any aspirations?
I think that is my work. That feels great.
Do you have any aspirations to do anything with fashion and to be a designer?
It's difficult because I don't really know my lay of the land in that area. But if I were to know the lay of the land in fashion and how I can make that a successful business venture for myself versus just having fun, because the reality of it is I need to pay my bills. So I wanted to make sure if I did that, I would have, clear understanding of how to do that. But if that opportunity arose for me to be a designer and that could sustain my lifestyle, I think that'd be something I would love to do. But from right now, it's kind of like a side thing. So there's girls that are like, I love your dress. I'm like, let me design yours for nothing. I'll just do it for fun. I love it.
That reminds me of, like, my husband likes to tinker and, like, build things, right? And I've often said, you could have a business. And he goes, but then it would be work. So no.
Yeah, and it's not fun anymore.
Exactly.
So, and I'm somebody too, like, I like to work with people who are a little bit out of the box. Mm-hmm. So when they're like, I want something different and unique, I'm like, I will show you different and I will show you unique. You might not love it at first, but see my vision.
I love that. So tell me, you mentioned you've had a past, you've had an experience in your life. So what was a defining moment for you that may have changed the course of your life?
I feel like we've all had a lot of different ones. One that really sticks out for me when you ask that question is my first ice bath. And if you don't know anything about ice baths, I have a deep freezer that I've sealed up with Flex Seal spray, and I fill it with water, and I obviously turn it on and I pop in there every morning. But I remember my first one, it was actually a cold shower, not an ice bath. But the benefits of an ice bath, right, it shocks you for anybody, whether you struggle with anxiety or not. But for me, I remember my first one, and I was in the middle of a situation where I was having to manage my emotions, and it was very difficult, and I could not get myself to calm down. And thankfully, I had a friend that was with me, and they physically took me into the shower in my clothes, sat me down, turned on the cold water, and I woke up. Wow. And so if you've ever experienced that or seen anybody experience something like that, they're not there, they're not connected with you, or they're not really awake. And that's true, because I don't really remember all of what happened during that time until I got in the ice bath and I was like, whoa, boom, like I'm awake. And I'm talking about this very happily, right? It's not a happy situation, but I think to see where I've come from, that's happy, right? And so that defining moment of, I need to take control of my life, and, getting in an ice bath, it's not something anybody wants to do, but if I want to be successful and if I want to be somebody that's a value add to other people instead of somebody that just takes emotionally, I have to do things that are difficult to take care of myself and other people. So
do you utilize the ice bath often?
Every day. I say every day, probably 4 to 5 times a week when I can take ice to my apartment. I do it 4 to 5 times a week, and I've been doing it for 2 years now. So I don't see as much of a drastic difference when I do them, but when I don't do them, I definitely notice, because my nervous system's a little out of whack. So it's definitely been helpful, and I've done it for the past 2 years.
I have heard that if you take ice and you put it, like, behind your ears or behind your neck or something, that can really help with anxiety too. So very, very cool. So when did you find...
I usually use that if, like, I don't have a lot of other things. And your brain it's an interesting tool if you know how to use it, right, and get it going in the right direction. But those kinds of things are really helpful. And also too, like, physical pain, which sounds kind of crazy, but like pinching on the back of somebody's arm. So if you do know somebody that deals with that and you've seen somebody in that kind of environment, it's not fun. And as the person or a friend or somebody that's in support of, a person struggling with that kind of stuff, knowing what to do is helpful. I mean, it's a reality of life. It's not fun. It's not exciting. And I don't have a statistic on how many people struggle with that kind of stuff, but we all have, big things that we're dealing with and stress that we have to manage. And, if you don't know how to help somebody with that, it can be hard. So like you're saying, if you put like a cold can or a cold compress on the back of somebody's neck, it's like a temperature shock, and that can help bring their brain to the focus, right? And also like a pinch, like I was saying on the back of somebody's arm, that pain has to give them something else to focus on, right? And when you're getting pinched on the back of the arm, you're obviously focused on that pain. So those are two really helpful things that I've learned as somebody who's struggled with that. But, learning not to be a victim was probably my most defining moment. It was difficult, but it was reality and what I had to do.
Do you share your story?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Lawton, Oklahoma. I was technically born in Minnesota, but I grew up, my childhood, I grew up in Lawton, Oklahoma area. I grew up actually in a small town 30 minutes away called Fletcher. But from there, I remember I wanted really big things for myself, but I knew it wasn't the traditional way. And as somebody who is a creative, I'm not a very traditional person when it comes to life and what I choose to do and all that kind of stuff. But I'm somebody who's very driven and determined. So it doesn't really take a structure for me to get something done like most people. So some people, it might be really great for them to go to college. For me, it was not something that I felt like was going to be beneficial because I already knew how to do and get where I wanted to, if that makes sense. And so I was working at a dress shop and I was able to, it's actually funny, I was working at my dress sponsor. That's my sponsor is Miss Oklahoma. I worked there when I was a teenager. So I was working there and going to college and trying to figure it out. And I was also competing for Miss Oklahoma Teen USA. And I really thought I needed to go to college for pageants specifically, to say I'm going to Cameron University studying business. And an opportunity arose in my hometown with a company called Viridian Coffee, which is where I work now. So an opportunity arose for me to have a financial stability for myself, to be able to move away from home and kind of do something on my own. And when you're a young kid, you always want something of your own, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go be a big adult and I'm going to be a big kid. And 4 years ago, I started working at Viridian as a barista and a team lead. And then I continued to show up when nobody else would, and in any kind of environment, but specifically in hospitality, there's so much opportunity for people who naturally don't have any clear opportunity, if that makes sense, like where they came from. So I showed up when nobody else did, and legitimately, physically, when nobody else would show up to work, I, filled in, and I learned how to do, pretty much everything from pulling espresso shots to running the company. And it's been something I've been able to call my own, and I've learned a lot from it. And I think that's a big reason why I've been successful in the pageant world, is because I'm connected to the real world in the sense that I came from nothing. I didn't have any, financial support from my parents. As I was leaving the house, I dealt with, some emotional struggle and maybe manipulation that I didn't realize at the time. And I was able to overcome that. And, I'm not the richest person in the world like Elon Musk, but I've definitely been able to get somewhere with what I've been given. And, to show people that you don't have to have it all to be able to get it all or achieve it all. Going to Miss USA, I spent a lot of my own personal finances and I just made it work, right? And when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of know how to, like the win-win situation we're talking about, right? If I win and they win, why not come together and collaborate? So I was able to do a lot of that going to Miss USA. But to get back to my story, I'm kind of on a tangent. I came from Lawton, Oklahoma with really nothing, and I was able to work my way through Viridian Coffee, and now I have equity in a company that's $6 million, and we're doing the things up here in Oklahoma City now. We just actually opened our first location in Oklahoma City, so that's where I live now.
Oh, that's really cool. I like so did you stop going to college and pursued business instead?
I did, yeah. So I was a semester in, and like I said, the opportunity kind of coincided to be a manager. And, when you're a manager of a restaurant, it's 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So I had to make the, choice. Did I want to actually go to work and learn how to run business, like go and operate a business, or did I want to sit in a room and read a book, And I had to evaluate my personality and if I was going to stay with that. And, I think that my personality suits that, but also I didn't have any other options. So I didn't really have the ability to quit. Like I couldn't quit if I even wanted to. So that was fun. It was challenging for sure. In the very beginning, I did not know what I was doing, and I did not know how to manage people. And that knowing how to manage people and lead people to the circumstances that they want, even though they don't want to do what they have to do. That makes sense. Like getting somebody to do what they need to do to achieve what they want, even though they don't want to. It's a superpower and it's a gift. I'm not the best at it, but I know how to do it.
Well, you're probably getting better every day too.
Yeah, for sure. And when pageants, right, that's kind of the same thing. In pageants, it's not, I'm Miss Oklahoma and, I'm the prettiest girl in the room. It's how do I make other people feel? And that legitimately is how you win a pageant. Because in an interview, you have to get them to fall in love with you. And it's how you make them feel, not about who you are and what's on your resume.
I think a lot of people have that confused in pageant. Like they're confused. They're like, I have to impress these judges. I'm like, actually, no,
Yeah,
you don't have to impress them.
yeah.
You have to connect with them.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good example you would ask me. Like technically on paper, I'm a college dropout, but third runner or second runner up at Miss USA, and education and the traditional lifestyle has nothing to do with it. It's about how you make people feel in the moment, right? And so I don't have any control on how. I'm trying to think of the phrase that I always tell my team members. You don't have any control on other people's actions, but I do have control of how you perceive me. So if I want you to perceive me as somebody who's happy and smiling, guess what I have to do? Smile.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science,
Well, and you might want to, I don't know, tell yourself something that makes you feel joyful, and that might help you smile a little bit instead of trying to fake it. I feel like people can see
really,
it.
it's all about who you are on the inside. And in pageants, especially, this environment can be so tricky because you feel like if you do all the things by the book, like you do eight coaching sessions, then you get your wardrobe from this place, or you go here to do this, and like you do everything by the quote book, you think it's gonna make it better, but really it's about who you are. And it's cheesy, Heather, but you know it because you work with girls all over, but you see their journeys, right? And people who are true and normal and real and honest and vulnerable, they usually do the best.
So what was the difference for you from your Oklahoma Teen USA experience at Miss Teen USA versus Miss USA experience?
I think I'm a very competitive person, so it was in my competitive nature. But at Miss Teen USA, there was so much time between the state competition and to the national competition because it was COVID. And this time it was only 3 months for me, which I think was perfect. So those 3 months of preparation, I was locked in and I was passionate and I had energy and I had a drive because I knew I could see the end goal, right? Being competitive, I'm also very goal driven. So with Miss Teen USA, the date changed a bunch of times. We didn't really get a date. And so that was hard for me to put my aim, right? Like, where's my target? I don't have a target, no target, right? We're just trying to figure out when Miss Teen USA was going to be and how it's even going to look, Are we going to have to mask? Are we going to stay 6 feet? Are we going to have to get the vaccine? Like, what's going on, So to experience Miss Teen USA during a year where the reality of everybody's lives changed too, like their pageant lives didn't change, their real lives, I think I was a little bit disconnected from life and reality, if that makes sense, because I was so focused on pageants. I was like, what? This is so sad. Like my experience in Miss Teen USA, yada, yada, yada. But for Miss USA, after I won Miss Oklahoma, I was able to have 3 months and just train. And I had a goal and I had a date. And the date that I competed, actually, August 4th, was my birthday. So not only was I turning 23, I kind of forgot how old I was for a minute. Not only, I think once you're 21, you kind of just forget how old you are. You have to look at your driver's license, like count the years. But it was my birthday and I was also competing for Miss USA. So that was a really big moment for me. And having that goal and that date was really helpful. But also at Miss USA, I knew who I was and my value. And I think that came from the amount of pain and struggle I went through those couple years between giving up my title as Miss Oklahoma Teen USA and then also becoming Miss Oklahoma. The emotional and physical and mental struggle and pain that I was dealing with really helped develop me into the person that I wanted to be, but also what made me successful at Miss USA, because I was connected with who I was, and it's okay that I'm, this or that, or looks like this, but I don't look like that. Like, that's okay. And you just have to own it, whatever it is.
So let's talk about when we did group sessions because you got a boot camp, I want to say, for Van Bros.
Yeah.
And what do you remember from that experience? Because you came straight up to me at the Miss Dallas and you're like, oh, it's so great to see you. And so I always just want to know, like, was there a takeaway from that experience, or was it more just how you felt? Because sometimes it's just an overall, I just feel so much better. I feel like I understand things better. What was it for you?
Yeah, and I think you're kind of spot on with that. When I was a teenager, I didn't really realize a lot of what you were teaching us was going to be so useful, right? Because you come at it from a very different perspective. You don't just train pageant girls, you train people who are trying to be successful in life. And once I feel like any girl, but specifically a pageant competitor, can get in touch with that, that if you're trying to be a pageant title holder, you shouldn't just be trying to win Miss USA. You should be trying to be the best person you can be because you're an ambassador. And so I really didn't think I understood how valuable your session was with us until I kind of was on the other side and I saw what you're doing as an individual and as a business owner of your own. The people that you teach are not just pageant girls. You probably teach CEOs of company, like $500 million companies and different things, and having that outlet of somebody who's going to tell you or bring you to your own reality, right? Which I'm sure you do a lot. You're like, looking at this from the outside, you did this to yourself. That can be really hard. And so knowing that, that's what I was learning from you at 16, 17, however old I was, I just don't think I maybe saw it as I didn't appreciate the information as much as I did now looking back. I kind of wish I would have listened to you.
I get that a lot.
In the sense of like really focusing on that information.
I get that a lot. Sometimes I'll work with someone when they're a teen and then I'll see them again a few years later and they're like, I just wasn't ready for what you were saying, but I totally get it now. And I should have paid attention. And
that's natural. As much as it's like, I want to be able to get that in their brain and tell them and make sure that they understand that you can't do that. And it's hard. So to let that stress go. I've learned that from working with team members. I mean, the team members I work with are between 16 and 21. So that age, right, is very transformative, and we're making decisions and we're getting boyfriends and we're doing the things and we're, doing all these things in life that can really lead to some heartache if we're not careful. And you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do.
You can try.
And that's difficult. I don't know how you deal with that, because that'd be really frustrating on my part.
It's hard. But at the end of the day, people have to run their own race.
Right.
And not focus on, what everybody else is doing. Not necessarily valuable. Look at who do you want to become? Yeah. What do you need to change about you in order to get there, and focus on that. And so I think it's reminding people of their why. Like, why do you do it in the first place? And that's huge. So tell me a little bit about advice that you've been given, because obviously you went out on your own at 18 years old, said, bye mom and dad, doing my own thing. I'm not going to be a victim of my circumstances. I'm going to carve this path for myself. What advice have you been given that's really helped you along the way?
There's a lot. And I think that's a good question just in and of itself. Knowing who you're going to take your advice from first is really important, especially in the pageant world. There's so many people that want to communicate and give you advice and give you things, but you have to make sure that you know who's giving you that advice and really believe in who they are as a person. But the person or the piece of advice that I was given that's been really helpful for me just in life, but it's be it until you are it. So instead of faking it till you make it, I think I have a different one.
Okay.
But be it till you are, it's really good, right? Instead of fake it till you make it. There's lots of advice I've been given that's been really helpful, but be it till you are it instead of faking it till you make it. What's really cool about life, and once you can get connected with this idea, you can wake up every single day and be a different person, whoever you want to be, right? So if one day you're like, hey, I didn't really like what I did yesterday, I didn't really like how I said this to this person, life is messy and life is ugly, and you're going to have to apologize for your mistakes and celebrate your wins, right? But you can change who it is that you want to be. So if you want to be somebody that's more outgoing, look at people who are more outgoing and who you want to be like, and just be like them. Really try, make an effort just to smile at people or make a conversation. And you can go online and study these things all the time too. It's psychology. So if you want to be this girl who's exciting and inviting and warm, and you're like, why don't I have any friends? Well, how do I be exciting, inviting, and warm to get people to want to be my friend? There's obviously a reason why there's some disconnect, and I think the other piece of advice I was thinking of, that is easier. The be it until you are is easier once you're out of the fog, that mental fog that you have. That's so much easier to do once you're out of the fog and you can see your end goal, right? But until you're there, the piece of advice I would say to put before that, if you're in a place that's not easy to succeed, right? Personally, sorry, I'm trying to get my words. I'm so excited. I love talking about this stuff. So what you do today is for tomorrow. What you do today is for tomorrow. So the food you eat, right? You may not realize this, but The food you eat really changes your emotions and your mood, right? You have a brain in your head and you have a brain in your stomach and your gut. So the food you eat, are you eating food? Are you eating food that's good for you, like meats and vegetables and dairy and all the things that's good for you, right? Or are you eating sugar and candy and sweets and soda and all the things that are gonna make you crazy, right? Are you taking your ice bath? Are you going and moving your body, even if it's just a walk, right? Because this feeling of like being itchy and uncomfortable is energy that you need to expend somewhere, right? And so that was really helpful for me until I was able to get to a place where I was stable and happy and living a good life. What you do today is for tomorrow, right? Me eating this good meal and, real food today is not going to help me later tonight, but it will help me tomorrow. Me exercising today is not going to help me today, but it will help me tomorrow. And if you keep that, thought process every single day, you're going to do the right things. And then it's going to accumulate and you're going to feel better and you're going to be stable again. It's going to feel so good. You're going to feel happy. And then you can be it until you are it because you are stable.
Oh, I see.
So I think those would be the piece of advice I like.
I love the idea of what you do today is for tomorrow because it's so true. Every decision you make is either opening or closing doors to your future.
Yeah.
And the conversations you have, the phone calls you answer, the ones that you take. And like you said, what you do with your body, what you feed and fuel your body, how you move your body, all of that determines what you're going to be able to do tomorrow. So good, Danika. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today. It's been a blast.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Heather, really.
So everyone, if you want to hear more from Danika, please join the She Wins Patreon, Solutions for Pageantry Patreon, because we're going to talk more about how did she become so stinking successful in pageantry? What's her advice for you? So join the Patreon membership and like this if you do, share it with a friend. Thank you so much.